Well, hello. I hope there are some people on our new channel. Um, it's been a while since I've been on here, so excuse me if I'm a little bit off wall. Let me make sure I am actually live on here. Yeah, there we are. We are live and ready to go. All right. So right now we are streaming to, I had some Rumble difficulties. So the YouTube, which is going to be up and running until we upset them enough. And then the Parent Team 6 group, which I haven't decided if we're going to make this public as a page or not. But so the election, everybody, and I knew we were building to a point with this group that we were going to come to a crisis point now. And what I mean by that is with us losing the House and the Senate. And I have a lot of opinions on why that happened. We can get into that later. But it was not an accident. I'll just say that right now. Is that we are in the most frightening place that we could be as parents. And the reason I titled this the way that I did is if they came for your guns, you would know how to fight it, correct? They're coming, and they have come, and they've been coming for our children. And now that Youngkin has his, or whatever, Senate and House, it's going to get very ugly very quickly. And this is the time where if you've been afraid to stand up as a parent, you need to get over your fear. You need to look at your children, and you need to realize what's coming at them. And we have the freest nation in the world, founded, that we have ignored for so long, that if we continue, we are at crisis point now. 0 dark 30 right now. And everybody can, I love people blaming Trump. Let's blame Trump. No. How about let's blame the man in charge in Virginia and everybody that followed his lead that didn't learn last year when he did it across the nation and his people lost. Conservatives have to be conservatives, okay? If that means crossing the Rubicon, we must do that. We moved to the moderates lost. So we were even more far left than we were to start with under Northam. So I'm going to show you guys a clip of a video, and I've shown it before with the organization that I previously started. But it's really important that you, if I can remember, I haven't been on here in so long. It's really important that things like this, because Virginia is California. The difference is that California backdoors everything, or we backdoor everything.
An example like this. Your 12-year-old has TikTok.
Virginia backdoors everything. How is comprehensive sexuality education coming in? Social emotional learning. We don't write legislation that we can then go and fight. We backdoor everything. We are connected to the District of Columbia, to DC, FedEd. Does Texas think they are immune to immigration? No. So how in the world did we get here to where we are connected to FedEd? Everybody who works in DC, where do you think they live? Maryland or here? Guess who went through it? Montgomery. Look at what they're fighting up there, them telling them they have no rights. Guess what's happening here? Loudoun County. You can't opt your children out. It doesn't matter what policy you show them, what law you show them. They're like, nope. So what we have to do here is stand up and fight. There's not going to be an easy button to push. Oh, there we go. Fixed again. We have to unite the forces, ground troops, in all the theaters of war. But watch this.
Youngest 12 years old to group homes without the parents' permission.
This will affect every single parent in the state of California. I'll give you an example like this. Your 12-year-old has TikTok. Your 12-year-old has a cell phone and social media, and you're not comfortable with the way that he or she is using that social media. You get in a huge fight. You take the phone away. You ground them for a week or two, and they go to school. Well, now the state has inserted these professional individuals, professional people on to public school campuses, and now your child is having a hard day, the teacher notices and recommends that they go get a counseling session. When they're at that session, they divulge, they share with this adult who they believe is a trusted adult who's taking care of them, and they share they had a total terrible blowout fight with that you and your husband or your partner. They don't want to go home, they don't feel comfortable talking to you, and the professional person asks them if they want to go maybe cool off a couple of days and somewhere off campus and outside of the home.
Is now considering a
Okay. See, here's the scary thing, though, is that you wouldn't even need a bill to do this in the state of Virginia if we continue to ignore the law. Is that I've shown that before. Okay. And this is why when I went before Governor Youngkin and Henrico back in August to acknowledge the legislation I carried, specifically, and it's on this channel, yet if anybody hasn't seen it, I can pull it up if anybody would like me to. But I specifically address the counseling situation, and parents matter, but they have to know they matter, which means, because here's the thing, guys, these are duty bearers. We elect them. Duty bearers have 3 responsibilities. Their responsibilities are to make human rights, that would be parental rights, known, respected, followed. That is their job as Americans in the freest nation in the world as duty bearers. Okay? Just to be real clear about this. That's their job. I don't care which side of the fence you're on. This is still America. And until people get that real clear in their head, what they're fighting is a constitutional war in the midst of a cultural war. Cultural revolution, but we have a constitutional war. Parents think that 240.1-1 is their parental rights. If I hear one more person mention 240.1-1, the one little liner in Virginia, did you know what? That doesn't even have actual Supreme Court law, constitutional law from the Supreme Court. It has an in vitro fertilization case from Virginia in the notes of it, which means it means zilch. What happens? People write legislation. They are like, oh, well, it can't get through this committee, so I'm going to pander it down to when it comes out the other end. What does it mean? Nothing. So the whole, well, this senator sucks because guess what? They don't pass any legislation. That is not the litmus test for a good legislator, because if you're going to pander your legislation to where parental rights references an in vitro fertilization case in the state of Virginia versus Troxel v. Granville or any of the other 100 years of what makes constitutional law, which is another piece that people are forgetting. And I will pull that up real quick. Since that just seems to be something that people are missing out on, is that common law, constitutional law comes from a line, a history of Supreme Court cases. Okay, I have my notes here. It's called Blackstone's common law. Okay, constitutional law is the equivalent to England's common law. It develops in a line of growth. Law emerges and is binding under constitutional law that comes from Supreme Court cases. It is decisions over a period of time establish a body of constitutional law. So what am I talking about when I talk about a body of constitutional law? Okay, just as a brief example, because I talk about these all the time. Fundamental rights, that would be parental rights, are fundamental rights. Are rights that are so implicit in the concept of ordered liberty that neither liberty nor justice would exist if they were sacrificed. Palco v. Connecticut, 1937. We have recognized on numerous occasions that the relationship between parent and child is constitutionally protected. Quilon v. Walcott, 1978. A parent's right to the preservation of his relationship with his child derives from the fact that the parent's achievement of a rich and rewarding life is likely to depend significantly on his ability to participate in the rearing of his children. a child's corresponding right to protection from interference, a child's corresponding right to the protection from the interference in the relationship derives from the psychic importance of him of being raised by a loving, responsible, reliable adult. Franz v. U.S. 1983. I just threw this in there. It's not what's just being taught. It's what you don't know is being taught. Know your rights. Those are my littles. They must be vigilantly defended. They are pre-political. Understand that? Pre-political. This is the Constitution. Parents' rights are natural rights that exist before the state. They cannot be given or taken away by the government. The Supreme Court has recognized that the fundamental right include those guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, that would be the third. That would be now that they're implementing home visits for Head Start. If you signed up for, government pre-K, that would be the VEA in the General Assembly last year talking about they tell their teachers to do home visits. That would be probably now that we have a red government or a blue government, same thing. Social workers, they're going to have legislation that not only give them access to your children, but social workers, that would be CPS people. They're going to come to your house. Third Amendment. Your house is your eminent domain. Okay. It was originally designed, Chuck, whatever your name is, running for the Senate. No, it does not just mean quartering troops. It means your house is your last line of defense. Do not let them in your house. Fifth Amendment, due process clause, which was then carried to the 14th Amendment to give states, okay, Fifth Amendment, no person shall be deprived life, liberty, or property without due process. 14th Amendment carried it to states cannot, not just the feds, but the states, due process clause without due process. They cannot take away. So for those of you that live in divisions that for the last 2.5 years, and guys, sorry to say, the new dignity policy, if you read it, there's this little out at the end that says, oh, except in cases of suicide and physical abuse, that's what they all claim. So the new policy, if you advocated for them to adopt it, sorry, you advocated for something that's not going to protect your parental rights. Not only that, it's unconstitutional. So whoever wants to squat up with me to take this to the Supreme Court, that's what I'm doing. 14th Amendment, due process. That means that every single parent that had their parental rights removed by Northam and James Lane, that has been sitting 2.5 years now, including 2 years Youngkin's been in office with nothing done, and now he's only made it worse. Via process. That means every single parent in the state of Virginia that had their parental rights removed under Northam that's now carried over to this administration should be filing a 14th Amendment due process clause. Do you know how we make change in the state of Virginia and across America? You sit down and you do the work. How did all these cases get to the Supreme Court? People sat down and they believed in their rights enough to make them go to the Supreme Court. You want to squat up? Let's do it, because that's how serious I am. You're not coming for my kids. And it's not about having a red or a blue or whatever, or a purple or this or that. It's about doing the work to keep your children yours. Okay? Because parents matter. It's not pro-parental rights language. It's not. Every child deserves the right to, not pro-parental rights language. That's UN Child Rights Convention language. These specialty right here. Okay, so Paul v. Davis. Associational and privacy interests implicit in the due process clause. So Supreme Court has recognized parental rights, Bill of Rights, due process clause. These special liberty interests include the rights to marry, to have children, to direct the education and upbringing of one's children, to marital privacy, and to bodily integrity. Washington v. Glucksberg. Chief Justice Warren Burger wrote, the history of culture of Western civilization reflect a strong tradition of parental concern for the nurture and upbringing of their children. This primary role of parents in the upbringing of their children is now established beyond debate as an enduring American tradition. The Due Process Clause, 14th Amendment, does not permit a state to infringe on the fundamental right of parents to make child-rearing decisions simply because a state judge believes a better decision could be made Troxel v. Granville 2000. So that's what they're doing. They believe they could make a better decision and override parents. Unconstitutional. Why? Constitutional law comes from a long line of Supreme Court cases that make it common law. If you don't understand common law and constitutional law, start reading up. You can't understand the Constitution of the United States. It's that easy. And if anybody's interested, I'm more than happy to do weekly Zooms to help everybody understand. Until the state proves parental unfitness, the child and his parents share a vital interest in preventing erroneous termination of their natural relationship. Santosky v. Kramer, 1982. Did you prove my parental unfitness in Chesterfield County when you decided that you were going to let my child, or any child, 64,000 of them in 69 schools, decide what gender they were for the last 2.5 years? No, they did not. That is unconstitutional, and nobody's done anything about it. The thing is that, guess what, guys? There's a 3-year statute of limitations for 14th Amendment due process. Tick tock, we are there. But with the new policy that Youngkin wrote, that has the out that it's unconstitutional because state code cannot override constitutional law. Do you understand that? Constitutional law goes to, okay, that's the founding of the nation. State law cannot, a law that is unconstitutional in a state is therefore moot. But until you can't just decide, moot, I don't have to follow it. You have to fight. And then if you haven't figured it out yet, we don't have a governor who's going to fight. The court has long recognized that the freedom of personal choice in matters of marriage and family life is one of the liberties protected by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Cleveland Board of Education v. LaFleur, 1974. The 14th Amendment forbids the government to infringe on fundamental liberty interests of all, no matter what process is provided, unless the infringement is narrowly tailored to serve a compelling state interest. You're going to have to show me where you narrowly tailored this to serve your compelling state interest. Washington v. Glucksberg, 1997. And the zinger of all, the statist notion that government power should supersede parental authority in all cases, which is what they've done since Northam and James Lane, and now Youngkin has done it with his little out on the new dignity policy. Supersede parental authority in all cases, because all children can claim they're suicidal, right? Okay, I'm going to get abused. Okay, therefore, parental rights out the window. No, sir. Because parents abuse and neglect, because some parents abuse and neglect children is repugnant to American tradition. Parham v. Jr., 1979. Boom, there's your, in your face, Governor Youngkin with your Virginia Code out to the constitutional law. And guys, it seems like, God, it can't be that easy. It is. It is that easy. But until we stand up, until we do something about it together, I have the brain, I cannot do it all myself. Okay. And I decided to jump on here because the last 2 months of my life, having it ripped apart, everything I worked for, torn, and then having to reform like what I was going to do. And trust me, I wanted to give up over and over and over. But you know what? Wouldn't let me. So if you want to understand how natural rights in the Bill of Rights, because there's so much Code of Virginia, I could pull up codes of Virginia all day long. Because I just heard that York, but thank God, someone flipped a school board. And I know that if I could, I would move down to York right now. Bravo, people down there going into that school board, you're protected because worked with those people to understand how education policy works. There's a couple places across this state that I would like to go move. Because I know that the people that got elected to those school boards are on it. But York County currently, Pocosin, telling people they can't opt out. Loudon, you can't opt your kid out of counseling. So sorry. Here's the Virginia Code that says what you must notify me of. But then Loudon, these places people are still going, guess what? Don't care. You better get busy filing those complaints. You better get busy filing them against everything. I have the video. So the governor saying that, oh yeah, well, yeah, you have to follow the law. Guess what? Throw that in there. The governor won't do anything about it. The AG won't do anything about it. Toss him in there too. File a claim against your school board attorney. File against his bar license. That never goes away. File an AG OCR. That would be an OCR complaint. File it at the federal level. File it. That would be FERPA, PPRA. Until you do the work, don't complain about what happened. I have had the joy of having parents that I don't know, not ones that I've worked with for 2 years now. I don't know. Reach out, not just parents, community members that don't have kids, that are so just now finding out what's going on, that are so enraged. But I promise to keep this short because I have 2 sick children. But I did want to jump on here and to show you that if you get a letter or you get somebody saying that you can't opt out of something, here's the thing. A nation that you cannot decide what your child learns outside of mathematics, social studies, history, because that goes to compulsory education in the Virginia Constitution. If it's not in compulsory education in the Virginia Constitution, guess what? You don't have to teach it. But if we live in a nation where you have to send your children and you can't decide what they learn, what you socially, emotionally teach children, or because it's coming in, if you think that this Senate's not going to, we have mental health. Thank you, Creed, a full mental health curriculum on top of everything else coming in. That was the last session. Trauma-informed care is coming in. Thank you, Creed, and a unanimous bipartisan Senate. That's why it doesn't matter if they're blue or not. Look what the bipartisan Senate did last year. Look what they've done. Look at what education bipartisan has done. The big stuff, not the little, race, transgender stuff. The big stuff. Like seamless data sharing, bipartisan, unanimous, great idea. This is not a red or blue problem. This is a wake up, understand what's going on, put on your big parent panties, and be prepared to fight. I wake up like that every single day. In the last 2 months, people have been like, are you quiet? You're quiet. What's going on? What's going on? I'm trying to figure out my place in this world. And I'm going to be going to law school because it is going to be very apparent that by the time I finish, there is going to be a need for a constitutional, and it's going to be hard to find somewhere to even get a degree in real constitutional law. But there is a shortage. But if you are at that point, I know of the attorneys that will go to war for you. But if you don't, you do know that you can file. I have the process to file 14th Amendment due process. Would you like to do that? Would you like to stand up for your children? Have you filed the opt-outs? Have you even done that? Have you do this for me? Everybody knows that has been following me for a long time. You and 5 of your friends, write your school tomorrow. So, hey, whoever's jumping on, it's going to say Facebook user. Just for next time, you'll be able to go back and watch this too if you're in the group. And then it's also on the YouTube channel. Someone just messaged, sorry, I just got home, but it seems like it's important. Yes, it's important. But it'll always be in the group. And then it'll also be in YouTube. And then I'll figure out what happened with Rumble. So just because I'm live right now, you won't miss anything. But the one thing, the easiest thing that you can do and tell 5 of your friends, write. And when I say write, everything goes into writing when you communicate with your school. You write your superintendent, your deputy superintendent, your director of constituent services, your school board attorney, your school board members, your principal, your vice principal, your teachers if you have them. You write everybody under the sun. You write the board of when I used to email Chesterfield County, it was the board of supervisors. It was Jeffrey Mink, who was the county attorney. I wrote all of them because the board of supervisors owns the buildings. They promulgate the authority to take care of them to the school board. So yes, the board of supervisors is responsible for what goes on inside of those schools. When you write them, you write all of them, and you write the AG, you copy lieutenant, you write your delegate, because your delegate is supposed to intervene in these things, by the way, if you didn't know that. You write your senator. I don't care if it's Ghazala Hashmi or who it is. You copy everybody so that there's a paper trail that everybody knows. And you say simply this: I am requesting, and here I'll give you the Virginia Code. I am requesting to see Now they're going to tell you, oh, you can't do that because copyright. No, I don't care about copyright. Do this. Under 8 VAC 20-720-60, instructional materials, I am requesting to inspect any instructional materials used as part of the, this is the Virginia Code, okay? What it's citing here is the Protection of People's Rights Amendment. So under the Protection of People's Rights Amendment and the Virginia Code, 8 VAC 20-720-60, I am requesting to see my child's instructional materials. That would be anything used. Okay? In accordance with the Protection of People's Rights Amendment. Protection of People's Rights Amendment, I just happen to have right here in front of me. It says it also includes including teachers' manuals, films, tapes, and other supplementary material which may be used in connection with survey analysis evaluation as part of any applicable program that may be available for inspection. What's available for inspection? Curriculum. Protection of People's Rights Amendment. They're going to tell you, because of copyright, that you can't have it. Say, good, I don't want it. I want to come see it. And I don't care if it takes you 3 days, 8 days, 5 days. You sit and you go through, because what they're going to do is what they did to me, is they're going to send you, say, 48 pages of YouTube video screenshots. That doesn't help me. So you're going to have to go. And so go ahead and you can preempt them and say, I would like to make an appointment with my child's counselor to come in and view their entire curriculum per, I'll put it in the comments. And it's also the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. And I probably uploaded this into, but it is 8 VAC. I'll bring it up one more time. This is just one of the many that you need to know. 8 VAC 20, that is the one thing you need to do. And the other one is get a parent portal. Whether it is Canvas, Schoology, whoever you use, get a parent portal. Use it every night. Go in, see your child's modules. The crazy stuff that I saw, like go home and find what opiates are in your house. After teaching my child what a piece of foil and how to smoke it at 11 years old. Yeah. Health class, that's what you need to be looking at mainly. But that is just a blow through, is that parental rights are not a one-liner in the state of Virginia. They are the foundation of the nation. Constitutional law comes from common law. It is 100 years of them stating it is beyond, right now, we are now saying in the 70s that it is constitutionally protected. And then from then, so what do we do about it? We have to stand up. God, Jesus, we can pray all we want. They're sitting there going, we gave you the shovel. We're not digging the ditch. It's called free will. If you were waiting for Youngkin, if you were waiting for a Senate, guess what? I hope your waiting is over, and I hate to laugh about it, but I've been talking about this for so long. The time to stand up and cross the Rubicon is now. And the question is who's going to stand up with me? You guys take care. I know some of you have missed my face. Some of you have not. But send your friends to the new channel. And it's also on, Lisa, you're on YouTube right now. So if you want to post that in the group for me. But I will be streaming to the group. And I will be streaming to YouTube and then also to Rumble, because I have a feeling that when we get into CPS and child sex trafficking that we're going to get booted off YouTube. But that's fine. I had planned on, this channel is not going to be like my previous channel where it was just me giving you facts all day. We're going to be having guests. So if anybody would like to come on, share your story, share what division you live in, what you were told. Because people ask me all the time, and do they come after you? No, they do not. They do not come after me. The right or the left do not come after me. How can, the more public you are, the less they can come after you. And that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying that it's a stop, like, not possible, but I'm just saying that if you want to, these are your children too. And I tell people all the time who know my story, I've been to jail for the wrong reasons. I'll go to jail for the right reasons. And that includes my children. And is that what's coming is very scary. And when I say very scary, I'm going to bring back up this video that I opened with, is that if you don't think the day is coming where your child tells the counselor, because you didn't opt them out of counselors and social workers having unfettered access to your children, which, by the way, your school, your division should be notifying you of at least annually. That's another one we'll cover in the next one. But this is going to be your future. They tell, oh, my mommy's the worst mommy ever because she's 7 and you took her iPad away that morning. This is going to be your future.
Session. When they're at that session, they
As young as 12 years old to group homes without the parents' permission.
This will affect every single parent in the state of California. I'll give you an example like this. Your 12-year-old has TikTok, your 12-year-old has a cell phone and social media, and you're not comfortable with the way that he or she is using that social media. You get in a huge fight, you take the phone away, you ground them for a week or two, and they go to school. Well, now the state has inserted these professional individuals, professional people on to public school campuses. And now your child is having a hard day. The teacher notices and recommends that they go get a counseling session. When they're at that session, they share with this adult who they believe is a trusted adult who's taking care of them. And they share they had a total terrible blowout fight with you and your husband or your partner. They don't want to go home. They don't feel comfortable talking to you. And the professional person asks them if they want to go maybe cool off a couple of days and somewhere off campus and outside of the home.
California is now considering a bill that would send children as young as 12 years old.
So instead of a cool-off period, saying that Virginia is part of the nasty 9, they'll just come to your house and take your children. That's called social workers, child protective services being in our schools currently. So you don't even need a form. If you have not received your notification to opt your children out of counseling, write your school tomorrow and say, I'll pull up the Virginia code for you just because I love you guys that much. You think I'd have this stuff? And guys, all of this stuff was legislation that that was carried last year. Bryce Reeves, Nick Freitas, John McGuire, Amanda Chase. It's called Education Transparency. Do you know who lobbied it with me? Do you know why? Because in the education packet that was handed out on opening day, do you know whose legislation was left out? Every single, that would be like 6 delegates. Both Reeves, don't blame it on Amanda Chase. Okay. It was both Reeves and Chase. The Republican Party left every single bit of my legislation out. And all it is law. Law that you must follow the law. Do we need that legislation? No. Just like we don't need a parental bill of rights. We just have to acknowledge what we have. Okay. So here's another one, guys. Administrative Code 8 VAC 620-10, School Guidance and Counseling Services. Okay, you can look this one up. That no student shall be required to participate in any counseling or program to which the parents object. It is much longer, and it also requires that you, at a minimum, provision for written notification at least annually to parents about the academic, career, and personal social counseling programs which are available to your children. The notification shall include the purpose, the general description of the programs, yada, 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 and how to opt out. It even, by God, if you're on a new school board, you can participate in an opt-in. Opt-in means you must know about it. Full transparency. If you don't opt in, you don't do it. I know that there's one amazing school board in this county that does it. I'm not going to out them because they'll be targeted next. But yes, opt-in is available. So, opt your child out of counseling because guess what? No student shall be required to participate. They are counseling our children so much that guess what? Your 7-year-old goes to school tomorrow and says, I have the worst mother ever because they're children. They're not adults. Their prefrontal cortex does not work. They don't understand the words coming out of their mouth to adults who are intentionally trying to get information out of them for their social and emotional well-being. But opt them out, please. They're going to come and take your children if you don't. And people, you don't, at this point, we're at a phase where it's like, you can believe me or you cannot believe me. But it comes down to what do you know versus what I know. Because this whole, what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect is that people don't know anything about anything. They're just doing the hive mentality of what they're told to do. And if you're a parent in the state of Virginia, you better wake up, because the political system, I mean, I'm not even going to blame a party, is not pro-parent right now. But guess what? The founding fathers, the founding of the freest nation in the world that we still live in is. So are we going to hand it over or not? That is the question. Have a great night, guys.